The courts do not work in your favor. And if you know nothing and you do nothing and you're not educated in it, you are pretty much destined to get screwed over in something. Even if you do know everything and do everything right, you're probably going to get screwed over. And thank you. I know there's questions that are coming in. I'll get to those, but this is going to be a little bit of a long one. So you're going to get screwed. So you have to start learning. Okay, you have to realize that the system is against you, that the courts are against you, and maybe not against you. They're just not there to really serve anybody, and they're going to lean towards the mom. And if anybody's going to get screwed, it's going to be you and not her. Just understand that. So we have to start educating ourselves. Number one is that if we don't have a lawyer, the system's going to be so overwhelming, we will not learn it overnight. And we will not learn it over 3 months or 6 months or whatever your case is. So if you can afford a lawyer, that's good. Then we move into this other thing of going like, man, well, I defended myself. This guy's, full of crap. He's not educating you. But here's the thing, and this is where the risk comes into play. Every single guy that I know that has represented themselves, and every single guy that kind of promotes this message of representing themselves in family court or in a custody case, any of these different things, they almost always say the same thing, is the first time you show up in court, you get your ass handed to you, you get blindsided by everything, that at that point you then go, oh man, I got to learn this stuff. I got to understand the books. I got to understand the law. I got to understand all these different things. Okay. And here's the bad thing to that is, in addition to that, every single guy that has a courtroom tragedy, and I know them, they hire me and it's horrible. They can't see their kids. They end up in jail. They get protective orders against them. All these things that are courtroom tragedies where they get screwed happen in their first 2 court appearances. Their first one or their second one, always. And if you don't dominate in that, if you don't make a good impression in that, if you make mistakes, then you are almost bound to be completely screwed. You're going to have a decision against you. So to me, that's too big of a risk. So yes, you can learn some things. There's examples of guys that kicked ass in court, but in order to really get a grip on the system and how it is, you got to do your due diligence. And so it's best to start that with an attorney if you can afford it. Now, whether you can afford it or not, because all of you guys are going like, dude, I can't afford an attorney. They want, $7,000. They want $5,000. They want $2,500, and I just don't have it. I totally 100% have that or understand that. I don't have that. I totally understand that, and I get it. And the first couple times I went to court, I didn't do that, and I got screwed. I didn't get favorable things. And actually, the first time I was in court was in a business situation almost 20 years ago. So I didn't really understand like how you could get screwed in these things. And it took me a long time to start learning the system. It was really, really tough. So what happened to me then after I lost a couple times is I realized like, oh, wait, I got to hire a professional to help me. Okay. So now you're going, oh man, I have to hire a lawyer, but they're all assholes. All I hear online is they're all assholes. All I hear is a litany of stories about how men got screwed over by attorneys. That's all I hear. Well, here's the thing. If you need an attorney and you're going to be screwed more than likely if you don't have one, then the real question is then how do I find an attorney and how do I vet an attorney? And this is where Josh Davis's book, Finding a Family Law Attorney, is really, really good. Okay. In this, it breaks down the entire process for you. So the process is, you file for divorce. Whoever starts it gets these advantages. Usually, generally, in each state and county, it's different. We have a lot of guys in Canada or England and Australia, and it's different there. But you have to understand that process works. You have to understand how motions work. You have to understand the statutes that are going to define property and custody. Okay, then here's one of the things that is so important that you also got to understand is if you want to find a family law attorney, you'll most likely be assigned a judge. And you should go to family court and watch that judge. Okay, so you go down to your county clerk's office if you're in the United States, and you go and watch that judge in action in court. They're going to see you. They might ask about you. The bailiff might ask about you. And you just tell them, man, I'm watching. I'm just an observer. If they're on Zoom, you watch them. Now, in this, you're going to see different attorneys fail and succeed. And I always say watch 10 to 15 cases. Now, that's a guesstimate, right? But if you watch 10 to 15 cases over the course of, 2 to 3 family court day trips. It'll take a while. It'll be boring. It won't be fun. That's going to save you the most amount of money because number one, you're probably going to see a case in that 10 to 15 cases that mirrors your case. It's going to have a lot of things similar. You're going to see cases where dads lose and moms lose. You're going to see cases where people are unprepared. You're going to see cases where people make mistakes. If you want to get a deep dive in the court system, watch the judge you're assigned to. Now, in addition to that, if you're hunting for an attorney, you're going to see a bunch of different family law attorneys and who's good and who's bad. Okay, so seriously, if you go to the courthouse and you watch the attorneys, you can see who's good, you can see how your judge rules, and then you're going to know. All right. So this is one of the other things too. Like we hear a lot of men's rights guys talk about, if you really want to see how screwed up the family court system is, go sit in family court and wait a day. This doesn't make any sense to me. Do you want to win or do you want to be a victim and complain? If you want to win, you go to the family courthouse and you watch how people win. People will win in front of you, in front of that judge that could be biased, in a court that is corrupt. And you're going to see that. And you're going to start to see a pattern of what works. You're going to learn how to talk to the attorneys. You're going to learn how to talk to the judge. You're going to learn how to behave in court, okay? Many places do not allow you to sit in. I've only heard of one state, but I could be wrong in that. But man, I have a group that has like 50 guys active in their cases right now, even in Canada, and they can watch their family courts. So the only state, I believe, was Delaware that I've heard, and there could be more, but in Illinois, in California, in Texas, in Washington, in Oregon, in Colorado, in Florida, men in our groups have done this. So that's what I know. That's what we actively work at every day in my groups and talk about. So that's important. I understand that may not happen in certain courts, but it's an available service if you can. Now, if you can't do that and you want to find an attorney, what do? You start interviewing attorneys. And I would interview attorneys that have more than 10 years of experience. You should start looking for different things. There's tons of different red flags that you need to look for. Number one, are they too busy? Are they too busy to work your case? And are they too busy to work your case 3 months down the road? So what does their calendar look like? I would look at how organized they are. I would look at how they treat their other clients and so on. I would not look at Yelp and Google reviews so much. I mean, I would look at them, but I would not take them as seriously. And one of the reasons for that is if they kick the other party's ass, the other party's going to write a bad review for them. And, lawyers are attacked all the time in all sorts of different ways. The best references is to get to know other attorneys. Even if you have a business attorney, they would know more active family law attorneys. You also need an attorney that is active in court now. So here's the other thing. There's kind of like probably not anymore, but like a female attorney in Austin who was very, very famous and did all of like the big people here 10, 15 years ago. And now she's terrible. So because she got such a good name, she brought in so many different people, charged a lot, had a huge reputation, and then basically forced people to settle. And so they need to be active in court now. They need to be going to hearings and doing trials. If they're not active in court, then they're afraid of court and they're always going to settle. Okay, so are they active in court now? It doesn't matter if they were active in court 6 months ago. It matters if they have cases where they're not afraid to go to court now and they're willing to argue in those ways. Okay, so this is another big thing. You also need to understand your case. So this is why you need to familiarize yourself with the laws. So this is one of the things in our groups and that I want to start sharing more on the live streams that we're doing here and stuff like this that are free for guys who really want to understand what's going on. You need to understand how the laws are in your state. So if you were on a call with me, I would say, do you know the statutes? You can go on your website for your county, right? And you can look at the different statutes for divorce and custody. If you're having trouble with them, you can go down to the county clerk's office. This is going to save you thousands of bucks, man. This is going to save you so much money. But nobody wants to do that. And I get that it's hard. Like I get that like it would be great if I could walk there with you and show you where the county clerk is and how to talk to them. And they'll tell you they can't give you legal advice and all these different things and yada, yada, yada. But I can't do that. So you need to do it. And if it's worth getting better custody of your kids, and if it's worth not having a tragedy, and it's also going to save you thousands of bucks in legal fees that you don't screw up on, go to your county clerk and you start asking them what the statutes are and where you could be directed to them. And it might be to legalese, and then you ask for help on being able to break all that down. Okay, so you then ask for help from somebody else. You could even hire an attorney at an hourly rate on what these things mean. Okay, so when you do that, you then can know what is going to be defined in your divorce and custody battle or whatever your situation is, right? And that is your guideline. And then you should get to know your judge. If you can do these things and really understand them, you're going to be much more equipped to understanding what this is about, what's at stake in your case. Okay, so this is really important. Kids, high conflict, whatever it is. What is at stake in your case? Is their property? And you need to hire an attorney that is an expert in that. They have gone to represent other people in the exact situation as you. It's not theoretical. They didn't have a friend to reference. They have done it. The only exception to that would be that if you are in this situation in a custody battle and it's a big firm, and that big firm has a bunch of lawyers that do have experience in this, but your lawyer may not, and your lawyer can ask those other lawyers and they're willing to do that, then you can do it, okay? So it's very, very tough. The other thing too that you need to know while working with an attorney, and if you don't do this, it could be bad. So divorce, custody, it is stressful. They have many, many men, many women breathing down their throats and being hysterical around them all the time. Okay, they're having this all the time. And if you can not be one of those men, it's going to help. But in addition to that, you should also start learning how do you work with your attorney. And you're going, man, I paid this guy or this girl or whatever $5,000 and I have to do work? Yes. So whether you have an attorney or not, you have to work your ass off on your case, and you need to know your case better than them. What they are there for is to argue in court, represent you in court, to find out the thing, to double check things legally, but you should be there to design everything, man. Everything. When you go in to talk to attorneys and interview with them, you need to have a checklist of things written out that are timelines and be able to articulate it. And it's even better if you know the statutes in your state and county and how those things could be argued. It would be better too if you went and met with an attorney and had somebody like, in our groups will help you filter out what actually matters in a case or not, because you're like, oh, she cheated or she did this or she's lying. It may not matter at all, okay? So it may not matter. And so because of that, you want to be able to bring it up to your attorney to double check, but you don't want to bring it up to your attorney to argue with them because it's going to turn them off. So an attorney will always take your money, but an attorney you want that attorney to be excited to work on your case, to be excited to do it. And the more that you can be organized and understand the statutes and work with them, the better it is. It's gonna kick butt. Okay, so the other thing that I'd say too is that you need to look at different red flags that attorney might have. Actually, I already brought some up, but like if they're too busy, if they're disorganized, if they're dismissive to you and you're not being dramatic, this could be a red flag. If I always say this, if they try and emotionally sell you, because that's real easy to do, like we're gonna kick her butt, blah, 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 that doesn't happen, okay? That really doesn't, well, it does happen, but it doesn't affect decisions in custody so much, okay? So if you kick somebody's butt in court, what matters is what is signed on the legal document and so on. I'm gonna look at these questions, and then there's actually one more question that this guy wrote in, so I'm gonna come back to that.